Patriot of no. This exhaustion. So yeah.
Well, the meeting order.
That's this. Those. I mean, hey.
Present. Yeah.
Hugh Burlingame,
Donna.
East Palo Alto,
Present.
Millbrae. I know he's here. He
Yeah, we just.
stepped away for a second.
Yeah.
San Bruno,
Morning.
Portola Valley.
Yeah.
Thank you. We have a form.
There any? And graded online. Do you have a public comment now?
That's for later.
Okay. So if we could get an action to set the agenda for consent item. So. Second. All in favor? Aye. Chair report. So we had a fairly significant item on this agenda for today, which was a discussion of policy 16, which is the process to elect the chair, the vice chair, the nominating committee, the audit committee. And it is a very substantial change from 2 pages to something like 12 pages. So I really strongly recommend, and we pulled it from the agenda because it was there was too much. So it will be on the agenda next month, and I strongly recommend that everybody read that. That's all I have.
Okay, great. I think the first item for today for the CEO report is just a quick report out, Nick, of the Audit and Finance Committee, and in particular, the prepay discussion.
Sure, forgot about that.
Sorry about that.
Well, we provided an overview on 2 key results, which came in largely as expected. We did have a variance to budget of about, I think it was 14 million of revenue, but that was or 60 million, but that was entirely expected because of the bill credit we gave in December. Other than that, everything on track and in strong financial shape. The more substantive discussion was continued dialogue on prepay bond structure. So we discussed, we did a little bit of refresher on what a prepay bond structure is, how it works, because the committee was last updated last June, so it's been some time. And then we spent a fair amount of time looking at the benefits and importantly, the risks, which we all determined we need further investigation, we need further advice. Talked about having legal and financial parties come here potentially and answer some of the detailed questions on those. So we're going to continue our investigation. We're not going to do a transaction until we fully understand all the risks that are out there. In the meantime, we are going to start the process of potentially hiring some advisors. We'll return to the board seeking their approval when we do select one. Importantly, all these advisors are paid on a contingency basis. So there is 0 out-of-pocket expenses if we decide to pull the deal at some point, a month, 2 months down the road. So anything else?
I don't think so. Okay. I do. Oh, thank you. I also wanted to let you know that just very briefly to follow up on the rate freeze decision that you all made back in January. That was a good move for lots of reasons. The first of which is our customers. But the second reason is that we've had some very good feedback as a result of it. So better than normal social media engagement around it. We did a little info video. We have information on our website. We are planning to do multiple emails. We have a large email list. It's not all of our customers, but I think about 3/4 of them. Paid search ads. So if somebody types in rates, either from our website or even PG&E, there will be a paid ad. I do want to say that we had talked about, or the board had talked about, perhaps doing some direct mail we looked at that, and I know Gwen is on the line in case you have questions, but ultimately decided that in this case, direct mail was not advised. Mainly because direct mail is generally used in the context of a larger strategy. It has a long shelf life. And this is a relatively short shelf life, because we don't know, likely that we may choose to raise rates in June. So there's all kinds of different things going on. I do also want to say that Cal CCA did pick it up. And we will be going to Sacramento next week for legislative lobby days, and it's already having a good positive impact in Sacramento. It's a great talking point for us. So did just want to say, good job, good move, and hopefully more of the same opportunity going forward. Next
How much
up,
did we save our customers, like 15% or something, right?
it's a range depending on rate class, but it's, well, Leslie can tell you exactly, but it's a low of 10%. In Los Banos, we're pushing up to 18% right now in customer savings, in electric generation.
That's great.
Right on the, so it's on our side, the PG side is so.
Yeah, so
Right.
customers
I mean,
are
which is
likely,
massive, regardless, I mean, that's,
2/3 of the bill.
yeah, I
Yeah.
know, that's the thing, you're gonna see, you're not quite gonna get the sense of,
The magnitude.
yeah, of our,
because it's still going up.
yeah.
Not going,
Yeah.
it's not going up as much. but
Correct.
better than nothing.
Well, PG,
That's right.
like I said, it's not going up as much as ours.
That is a good point, yes. Some of you may have noticed that there were minutes in the packet that were very dated. And we just want to acknowledge that and say, we know. And the last year has been absolutely crazy busy with Jan's retirement and just shifting. And so Nellie is diligently catching up on that backlog. We also just want to flag for you that part of the policy 16 amendments that will come back for consideration include a shift to action minutes. This coincides with a shift.
Yeah.
Well, that's music to Nellie's ears. That coincides to a shift to peak agenda, which allows people to go in, watch the video, and have it tagged to our agenda. So if they want to watch a certain topic, great. Just want to let you know that's coming. And you just made Nellie's day by a positive response. Along with, in the upcoming category, along with the policy 16 amendments that Chair DeGolia mentioned, it will coincide with a JPA agreement cleanup. We all know that JPA agreement is now 7 years old. There's not a lot of cleanup, but we're doing a side-by-side comparison along with Jen Stalzer to make sure that what policy 16 says is reflected in our JPA agreement. We now have directors emeritus. We need to include that. So there are a couple of areas where we'll be bringing it back. It requires a 30-day notice as per the JPA agreement. So likely these two items will come back for adoption in March. That will trigger the 30 days, and then the JPA would be reapproved in April, right? Is that correct, Nellie?
Yeah, I will probably have to send out notice. I don't know what the details of that are exactly yet, but the notice will probably hit a couple of days before the March board meeting.
Right.
Because there aren't exactly 30 days between the two board meetings, March and April. So there'll probably be notice ahead of
It's a
time.
public notice issue.
Yeah.
So just want to give you a heads up about sort of those two things going together and why. I mentioned, I'll be going up with Mark and Shalini to Sacramento next week for Cal CCA's lobby day. I'm also participating as a speaker in CCA training on March 14th for all the new legislators coming through. You know, that's my favorite topic, is to teach about the business we're in.
Excellent.
So I'll be doing that, and then starting council briefings, moving around to all the different councils. So as you can see upcoming, I've got how many? 7 between this week and May, and then they'll have a second round. And those are
So
about,
you're going to the meetings themselves?
yeah. Yep, and then we'll hopefully be at the county at some point in the next round and giving about a 10-minute update. We have a little video we're gonna show, answer questions. And this just allows us to update all of your council colleagues and,
Are you doing it in person or Zoom?
yes,
Mhm.
oh yeah, I love my in-person.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a video, so it's good. And so we'll be at Brisbane this week. Colleen, look forward to seeing you, and then moving down the line from there. I will say, March sixth is Los Banos. I know we had talked about 6 months ago or so that we were seeing significant opt-outs in Los Banos, and the tide has turned on that, and the tide has definitely turned on the relationship that we have with the city, starting with the meeting that Vice Chair Colson and I had, and they're very excited about the new member agency, electrification programs and opportunities, and are fully engaged now. So I feel like that's a near-term victory. All right, so that concludes my CEO report. We go from there. Are there any questions?
Okay.
All right.
Next item is consideration of this is an action item for a 3-year contract with Franklin Energy in an amount not to exceed $26 million for the implementation of turnkey installation services.
And this is being presented today by our own Alejandra Posada, who manages this and so many other programs for us.
And Lauren, I know you can all hear me, but I don't know if this turned on for like the virtual. Oh, okay, sorry. Thanks. All right. Well, hi, everyone. My name is Alejandra Posada. I'm one of the program managers in the programs team. I work on our building electrification programs, specifically our residential programs. So here I'll be talking about a new service that we're looking to launch here for residential, single-family residential homes. That's largely focused on income qualified homes, but also touches some components, other new components as well. And I assume Nelly's driving the slides. I don't have a clicker, so.
Say it again?
Is Nelly driving the slides? Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Never mind. Thank you. All right. So what I'll cover here is a little bit of context about our, how this fits into the 2035 building or decarbonization plan and our overall programs portfolio. Then just cover some of our current building electrification efforts. Then our new building electrification efforts focus on what we're planning to launch this year, and that includes this turnkey installation service. And then really narrow it down into this turnkey installation service and specifically the contract that we are talking about here today. So how this, as I'm sure you guys have all seen this slide a bunch of times, but this just shows our overall programs portfolio, what the program team works on: transportation, building, and distributed energy resources. Today we'll be talking about existing buildings. So that's retrofitting homes that have gas appliances, and specifically talking about single-family residential homes. So how this fits into the 2035 decarbonization feasibility and assessment plan. So as you might recall from the board retreat in 2022, staff came back with a plan that says that we need to rapidly scale up building electrification. That's one area that's way behind. It doesn't have as much market momentum on its own as transportation. And the plan determined that PC is best positioned to affect change in small residential, defined as single-family homes or small multi-unit dwellings. But the program I'll be talking about is on single-family homes specifically. And then it also stated that we need the program and the following sort of principles for the programs that we offer. So flexible incentives, high touch support, and links to finance. Okay. So this is what we currently have. And again, this is all for residential customers. So the top 2 rebates and loans are available to all residents. So it's not income qualified in any way. It's, otherwise called market rate. Customers are available to use these. We've been offering heat pump water heater rebates since 2021, but it really was in October 2022 that we significantly ramped up our efforts and incentives for building electrification. That's when we started offering the heat pump HVAC or space heating and cooling rebate. And that's also when we launched the 0% loan, which offers a loan up to $10,000 and for the same equipment, heat pump water heater and heat pump HVAC. And then the home upgrade program is our current direct install income qualified program. So what that offers is one electrification measure and some minor home repairs. So even things that may not be energy related to low income homeowners. This program has been going on for about 2.5 years, but for the past 4 or 5 months or so, the program has been closed. So we do have a wait list up. So right now, there is a gap in our service in income qualified homes, and that's what this program will close and also scale up the services. So this just shows participation in both of those programs. So the top lines, again, are rebate and loan programs. Those are available to all residents. And that's participation over the past, I guess, 3 years, but really like at least like 70% of that has been really in the past year or year and a half. Then the home upgrade program, through the current contract that we have with our current implementer and administrator, we will serve a little over 300 homes. This is where we stand right now. And then this shows all appliances installed combined for all programs. So heat pump water heaters and heat pump HVAC as really the main ones that we have focused on, and that's on the rebate and the loans. That's the only financial incentives that we offer. It's on heat pump water heaters and heat pump HVAC. Induction ranges and electric dryers, that's really only been installed through the direct install income qualified program. And one thing to note on the direct install income qualified program is because of the average budget that we've kept for home, we really have not done any heat pump HVAC upgrades there. So we've only really been doing water heaters, ranges, or dryers. So despite the fact that we do have robust incentives, there's still more support that's needed to serve the average customer. I think that what we've seen is that a lot of the folks that are participating in our program still to date are sort of those early adopter, deep greens, those that are willing to invest the time researching the equipment, getting multiple different quotes, sort of project managing and spending the time, and maybe are environmentally motivated to do so. But to be able to serve sort of like all customers, there's a lot of barriers that we still need to address. Emergency replacements, this is particularly an issue in water heater replacements. The large majority of water heaters get replaced on burnout, and it is more difficult to replace a gas water heater with a heat pump water heater, as quickly as you can with a gas like for gas replacement, just because there's more electrical components. So that's a big barrier since most people are not planning ahead in replacing their water heater. There's also a lack of clear information. I think in the past year or so, there has been more information and attention around heat pumps and electrification than maybe in the past, but still it's newer technology, and most folks are not familiar with it and have to kind of research that. There's also difficulty selecting contractors and equipment. Again, I think in the past year or so, a lot more contractors have been entering this market and do install heat pumps now. So it's definitely way better than it used to be like 2 years ago. Yes, do you have a question?
Yes, I'd just like to point out in the northern part of the county, it's very hard to find a contractor.
Mhm.
When we did replacement, we sent emails to a bunch on the PCE list, and what they told us is they don't work in the north part of the county. So we only found one contractor.
Mhm.
That was it. We need to do something about that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure when you did your project, but I think there's more contractors that serve the southern part of the county. And I know the coast is also an issue, but I think in the past year, even 6 months, we have seen more contractors engaged. So there should be more now, but I agree that that's still a challenge, is selecting and finding contractors that serve certain regions. Then also another barrier is just limited time and money. We do have incentives, but as I mentioned, it can be a big task and a big project to sort of electrify and manage all of that on your own. Some folks may not have the time to do that. And then there's also technically complicated installations and, not knowing where to turn. And if you can trust a contractor, and if the contractor's experience doing electrification and, serving homes with your particular needs and all of that. So this, yeah.
So you typically have to upgrade the electric panel, right, when you put in these new. You put in the heat pump, is that right?
No, you don't have to upgrade the panel every time. I think, Peninsula Clean Energy has done a lot of work on creating guidelines for fully electrifying homes within 100 amps. So without having to upsize your panel. The majority of our installations, because we actually do have an electrical panel like bonus rebate, but only like 35% or so of applications have an electrical panel bonus rebate. So that shows that only like 30% or so of the projects that we're seeing, at least through our rebate program, are upgrading their panels.
Okay.
And it doesn't require upgrading your panel. And sometimes you can even, switch out, maybe if you have a really old panel, you can switch out a new one, but without necessarily upsizing it and upgrading your service and going through that process with PG&E. Or you could also install like a sub panel So there's other ways that you can, if
Okay.
you're constrained, yeah.
They now actually have 115 volt water heaters that are
Yes.
just as efficient as the
Yeah.
220s,
Yeah.
which, so the industry is beginning to catch up.
That's great.
Thank you. All right, so this is our overall just vision for our next phase of building electrification program. So we hope to scale to whole home, through our direct install program, like the income qualified program. Again, we've only been doing one measure per home, like just one appliance. So we hope to scale that service. We also hope to serve more homes per year, again, just across all of our programs, just continue to increase the market in building electrification. So to all of that, we hope to launch one-stop shop services. So this is really being led by our marketing team, but just really having more robust information and tools available on our website for, those that want to, maybe estimate their cost savings, maybe with a bill calculator, just looking equipment, or just have more information about electrification and education available on our website. Then concierge service, currently right now, we're just not staff to be able to answer really technical questions. So every once in a while, we do get that, we get a lot of questions like process-wise, like what are the rebates, like, where should I find contractors and so on. But sometimes we get questions that are really technical, and we're just not currently, staffed to do that. And also there may be other energy advising services that we're familiar with, but that we know are not capable of really answering like super technical questions that we've seen. So I think, having a concierge service, so somebody that can assist residents with, comparing quotes or just answering questions about their particular home situation is really, really key. And then turnkey installation service, so that's more of just like a direct install way for residents to be able to electrify. So again, right now, if somebody wants to electrify, they sort of have to get different contractor quotes and figure it out on their own. So this component is what we're talking about today. So the contract that I'll be talking about is specifically for the turnkey installation service. The concierge piece, we're planning to manage more in-house just by adding a person to the programs team. So this just shows our estimation of the timeline for all the new services, of course, like the ones I'll be talking about here, the top blue lines. So there's 3 separate components as part of the contract. There's income qualified installation services, that's meant for low income residents. And then market rate installation services, we haven't been offering this. So it would be at a cost to them, but it's just a more streamlined way for residents to electrify. And then the emergency water heater replacement service, so just having a program that's capable of replacing failing gas water heaters quickly. So we do plan to phase them in. We want to ensure quality and then make sure that the customer journeys and all of that is clear. So we'll be prioritizing launching the income qualified service.
Do we get very many calls from people whose water heater fails? Like people think to call us when they're replacing something quickly?
Not really. I've maybe seen that like once or twice, but yeah, they don't think to call us. Yeah.
But we actually want them to, and
Yeah.
there are a number of CCAs that are doing this now, and it feeds also to the BACMID effort.
Yes, yeah.
So we're trying very hard to kind of be more similar in terms of our service offerings, so we don't have big service gaps throughout our Northern
Yeah, no,
California.
it'd be great to have the calls.
Mhm.
That's part of where that comes.
Yes. So what we're planning, is to launch the income qualified piece as soon as possible, really as soon as we get a contract executed, especially because we do have a wait list for the previous phase of the program. And then phase in the other services sometime like the summer. And again, just sort of tiering them in. And then this also shows, one-stop shop website, again, led by our marketing team, just putting up more robust information and education on our website. So there's different sort of versions of that. Concierge operations. So as I mentioned, this is an internal resource. So we're hiring a person right now, actually. So that person will be in charge of handling like all customer concierge technical questions. But how we envision this is to go really hand in hand with the proposed contact center that I know Leslie will be talking about following this. Currently our call center is just not capable of really answering any non-basic questions about our programs. Like they can answer basically what's on our website. But if there's questions about like, what's the status of my rebate? Have you reviewed my loan application? what are the rebates, like, are you familiar with, like, they're just not, capable of answering those questions. So we envision that the in-house contact center would and be able to not just provide like account services questions, but actually support across all programs, including, even like non-PC programs, just be familiar with the different rebates and all of that available out there. So the concierge person wouldn't be, answering every single question. They would sort of be the person that it gets escalated to if they have like really technical questions and like need like technical assistance essentially. So the two really go hand in hand. Okay, so now about the contract for the turnkey installation service. So there's 3 separate components as part of this program. One of them is sort of a new version, so scaled up version of it, and then the 2 other are new. So the income qualified, no cost electrification, that's a home upgrade program now. But so it will do no cost whole home electrification for low income residents. So again, what we've been doing the past like 2+ years is one electrification measure at no cost. So this is ramping up the level of investment per home and fully, offering electrification, whole home electrification in those homes. So ramping that up. Then the market rate piece would be new. So this would be offering like a streamlined way for non-income qualified residents to electrify. So having direct, direct contractors that we can, if somebody, comes to Peninsula Clean Energy, they're like, I just want, a water heater installed, but I don't want to go out and get quotes and I just don't, care about the equipment. I just get it done as fast as possible. Like, I think this is really what this service is like intended audiences. I think those that are still want to be like super involved and like, be able to compare quotes and like select their equipment and stuff like that. To be clear, we're not getting rid of our rebates in our loan programs. So those will still be there. So residents will still have the option to figure out their own project and, select their own contractor. This is just a way to, streamline the experience for those that are more like limited on time and just want it done well as fast as possible. Yes.
Remind me what the income qualified loan
Yeah, it's less than 80% of the AMI, so area medium income, yeah.
175,000, what would, yeah.
For a family of 4? No, it would be like 120 or something, 110. No, it's 80% of it.
So it's the AMI that is at 100 is 175, so it's like 125, yeah. 125.
I thought it was 163, but anyway, yeah, it's there, it's hard.
It's around there.
It changes by household. I know for like a 1, I mainly remember that for 1, it's like 102 is 80%. But for a household of 4, let me see.
I'll look at it. You look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
just looked it up last week for something else.
So,
Amazing how it's moving.
So for a
That's what I'm
family,
saying, 'cause
for
I
a
think
family
more
of
people
4 is
qualify.
149.
More
so,
people would qualify than you
That's
think.
80%.
Yeah.
149
80%
and
is
Yeah.
149
So their
for
income would have to
family
be less than 149 for a family of 4 to qualify for no
Okay.
cost. Yes, Rick.
So on the market rate, which is new, what is new is providing the analysis, right?
That's right.
For those customers that don't want to do it themselves or hire their own contractor, and they'll work through this contractor group.
That's correct.
And the low cost component of that is the same as it is right now for those customers that go outside to hire a contractor. It's basically a rebate or a series of rebates.
That's right. Yeah.
What's different about the service delivery, and that is that we're contracting.
Yeah, no, that's right. But in terms of like the incentive that the customer receives, it is the same.
Yeah.
So like the rebate that somebody going through the market rate turnkey service that we offer will be the same as whatever they get if they go out and do the project on their own. So yes, it's just like the support, like the project management of this the project, and it also includes a site assessment. So the implementer would go out and do a site assessment. They just determine what's being done in the home, then they just get the contractor out there, they go out there, but the incentive is the same, like the financial incentive to the customer is the exact same.
What's different is the
And then-
level of service.
What's different is the level of service. That's
Is the
correct.
site assessment by contract,
That's right.
and does the customer pay for that?
We pay for that. Yeah, so I guess indirectly, yes,
So
we-
that's an additional benefit.
yeah, that is an additional benefit.
That's a real benefit.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that's a new benefit.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, the level of service is higher through this, yeah. But the incentive on the
So that should
equipment,
significantly increase participation from market rate customers who want to electrify
yes,
based
yeah.
on the past.
Yeah, that's what we hope. Okay, and then the third component again, which is new, is emergency water heater replacement program. So this would be with the goal to replace failing water heaters within 48 hours with heat pump water heaters. But if a heat pump water heater installation, like a permanent heat pump water heater installation, is not feasible within that time frame, then installing like a temporary solution and then going back and installing a heat pump water heater. So a little
Can
bit.
you tell us more about that temporary solution? Is that,
Yeah.
that seems like a big deal to me.
And how that's going to be implemented.
Yeah, yeah,
No
so,
one's gonna go electric unless it can happen fast.
That's right.
right,
That's
yeah.
what this is about, right?
Mhm.
They're gonna give you a gas heater, essentially.
Is that right?
Temporarily.
Well,
Right, and it's, that's the interim piece is the
yes,
bridge,
Okay.
yeah, and in some cases, it'll be a gas water heater. If we can install an electric 120 volt right away, then like we will do it, like which are again, plug and play water heaters, those that don't require a circuit add. So the idea would be like, we would go out and like, are aiming to install a permanent heat pump water heater on site. But if the scenario in that particular home means that maybe they don't have any electrical available right then, and it takes us a little longer to, install a circuit than within 48 hours. Obviously, the priority is getting them hot water, so we would install like a temporary gas unit and then go back after the circuit is installed and install the permanent heat pump water heater unit. So, yeah.
But to Dave's point, though, the NEC, the National Electric Code, requires a dedicated circuit for this appliance. Right, I mean, it has to be a dedicated circuit, it's considered an appliance. So, I mean, you'd have to actually then either run a straight line, or you'd have to have a circuit breaker for that one thing, so I think it's gonna be important. Well, I don't know, but it seems to me that we're gonna have a bunch of gas installations for 2 days and then call them out, unless you actually have a dedicated circuit for that appliance, because I'm sure it's considered under NEC.
I'm sure you're right.
Wait, so you're saying a 120 electric water heater can't just plug into an outlet?
Oh, it can.
But you're saying it has to be dedicated?
Yeah, now, right.
You're talking about building code requirements.
Right, but I suppose the city would say, well, we'll let you do this for 2 days, all good, right? But I think that the National Electric Code says it has to be.
A lot of existing gas water heaters have an electric outlet associated with them. They're not pilots, or they're, a lot of them are, I mean, the older ones, yes, but their newer ones are have electronics built into them. So a lot of some of them will have a dedicated circuit already, I would think.
I don't know.
I don't know that it's dedicated.
Yeah.
If I might jump in here, there are 120 volt water heaters that require a dedicated circuit, and there are also 120 volt water heaters that don't. And they're without getting into all the details, they have somewhat different characteristics. We don't expect that all cases will be servable by a 120 volt water heater. There will be cases where a gas water heater will be necessary, but it depends on the specific circumstances.
As long as we're not running 10 gauge extension cords all over that house.
But to answer one of the questions, which is how this would work in practice, because we want to make sure that the customer experience is good, and that because it's an emergency replacement, like basically if we are installing a loaner, there is an added cost or being an emergency replacement, and also just added labor of having to go back twice, and that cost would be covered by PCE. So again, it's just like an increased level of service. It's the incentive on the water heater itself. The rebate is going to be the same through our rebate program and through this. It's just that, but there's kind of more like ancillary services that we are covering. So yeah, hopefully that answers that. Yes.
Just a quick, one. Have we talked to Palo Alto? So Palo Alto had that, they wanted to do 500 in their first year,
Mhm.
and I think they only got to like 200. Cause you know, the Palo Alto Municipal Utilities, and whatever reason, I'm so close to the 9433 is.
Yeah.
They're open, and so they sent us the study of the report. So I wonder if we can learn anything from what the municipal utility has, you know, cause they didn't get to their 500, right? And they clearly have, you know, the income levels where they could
Mhm.
actually do it, so I just wonder if we could learn anything as to how they.
Yeah, we have talked to Palo Alto a few times about their contract, because they have a similar, like, a direct install program, so we've talked to them a few times. I'm not sure where the installations stand today,
Yeah.
and I know that their program isn't an emergency water heater replacement program. It's just
Yeah.
like an installation service, but it's not focused on emergency replacements.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's a great
Yeah.
program, I mean, like, but Dave, it's a big deal if we can actually make this work.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so, the gas appliance loaner,
Mhm.
temporary use, I suppose it's, you know, both tank and tankless available.
That would be the idea, is we have all the different equipment available for all scenarios.
Bridge stacks.
Mhm. Yes. Okay. So now getting into the request for proposals, so the public solicitation process that we did to select the implementer / administrator for this program. And also their contractor partners, because we did do the solicitation in a way that it asked for that, like for a whole team. So not just an implementer, but also who the contractors are gonna be. So the process, we jointly developed the RFP with SVC, so that's something of note. SVC, or Silicon Valley Clean Energy, does actually intend to launch the exact same services and they do intend to execute an agreement with Franklin Energy, who we selected for the all three components that I talked about. So we do intend to sort of launch the program in parallel with them. And that's why they were involved in the development and also in the selection process as well. We released the RFP in August, proposals are due in October, and we finalized our selection in December. The review team included, PCE staff, one SCC staff member, and then it also included one community advisory committee member who reviewed all the proposals and provided comments and all of that. We received 5 proposals, and after review, we shortlisted 2 for follow-up in-person interviews. And then even after the interviews, we did 2 additional rounds of questions. After all of that, we selected Franklin Energy and their team as the recommended awardee for the contract. So about Franklin and the team, so Franklin Energy, who the contract will be with, is a large energy consulting firm. They're very active in California. And they do have a lot of experience with energy efficiency and electrification programs, and they have some experience working in San Mateo County. They've done some projects in the past with Meta or Facebook to like electrify homes in Bellhaven at a small scale. They also currently work with MCE on their direct install program, which is mainly focused on energy efficiency, but they have been doing some electrification as well. And then the contractors, there's 3 contractors part of the team. And then the three different contractors are really focused on sort of different components, but there's some overlap. So ENSO Building Solutions is going to be the contractor that will be doing the income qualified installations. They're currently the partner with the MCE program, so they're the ones that are doing all the direct install energy efficiency and building electrification projects in MCE territory. FuService is a very large Bay Area contractor. They're very experienced with electrification. They even do a lot of marketing themselves on electrification and heat pumps, heat pump water heaters. They will focus on the market rate installs, and they will also be the emergency water heater replacement contractor. And then Electrify My Home is another smaller than Fuse at least contractor. They're very electrification focused, per their name. So that's really all they do is electrification, and they will also focus on market rate installs. And then there is one other party as part of this contract. So Zero Home is a software platform that uses energy modeling to estimate bill savings and impacts of different electrification and energy efficiency measures. So that's part of the team, and we will be using the Zero Home tool during the site evaluations, or Franklin will be using the Zero Home tool during the site evaluations to estimate bill savings and impacts of the measures of that particular home using their tool.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
Just quickly, are any of the installers union contractors?
None of them are union contractors, but as I'll mention in the next slide, the program that will require pay prevailing wage. None of them are union because all of them are general contractors, typically union, like as in like multi-trade contractors. Typically union contractors are like single trade contractors, and all of these three have all services, like all trades in-house.
So Zero Home, is that software and focus which results in identifying targeted
Mhm.
customers? Is that similar to home energy analytics?
Analogous.
It's analogous, yeah, but I'm not actually sure that it's been a while since I looked at home energy analytics. But it's similar, yeah.
Kind of go back to the, you explained this before, and I understand multi-trades required in doing some of these upgrades. You don't want to get, let's say, 3 separate union contractors in coordinating, it's why we're using these folks that are non-signatories, correct? That's why we basically, using these 3, is that correct?
Yes, so there are multiple factors at work. We did explore, how far we could take use of union labor in our existing home upgrade program. And we encountered a number of challenges. One is as Alejandro notes, they're often single trade, which leads to the situation of, going into the home and we need to move a couch, we need to put a hole in the wall, we need to run the conduit, then we need to spackle it, and then we need to paint it. And then the request is, well, we should have different trades do each of those things, which is very challenging, particularly for low income folks who can't take a lot of time off of work and those sorts of issues. So that's one of a number of challenges. There actually aren't that many contractors that are union contracts that serve residential, single family residential. If there were many, then maybe that would be a more addressable issue, but we're not seeing a clear solution path to deliver the kind of customer experience that we know is going to be necessary.
So I only bring it up because it's now getting to be a larger contract, right? And so we are going to have to be public facing on this.
Right.
So to the extent that either, we have, that argument laid out, it would have been nice to have actually had in this report actually placed that in here.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get those questions, and I agree with the approach, but I think it's important for us to be able to respond to, and who knows, maybe the union contractors are going to say, there's a real niche for us here.
Yeah.
Right. Let's figure it out. But,
Yeah, absolutely. And I would note, we've been very intentional of building those relationships and programs where there is a clear line. So with the solar installers program, where we have local union contractors that are engaged in that particular program.
Thank you.
And just wanted to clarify, we did approach our local unions and let them know about this program, and they were allowed to bid on it or to show their interest, and we wound up these 2, and then finally getting this one. So
yeah, so the solicitation was for a program administrator, and we encouraged the program administrator to reach out and connect with local union firms. We also engaged IBEW to encourage those relationships. And so it was something that we actively tried to foster as best we could.
Great.
With Fuse, I think I got a mailer from them.
I did too.
Me too.
Yeah, I was pretty excited.
Yeah. And I took a picture of it and sent it to Sean right away.
We're actually quite excited by the fact that Fuse is part of this partnership, because they do the largest number of installations in our service territory already. So they're very experienced and very capable.
All right. So this just shows the average whole home electrification costs for a typical home per the contracting pricing in the Franklin contract. So I want to note a few things, I guess, before going down. It's first, the program will pay prevailing wage for all labor roles. Also, the contract is going to have detailed fixed prices for the different measures. So there's going to be a bunch of different configurations of, like, say, water heaters. There's probably like 6 different ones. For heat pump HVAC, there's like 8 different ones. So that's one of the things that we were really excited about in the approach that Franklin had. And, one of many, reasons why we selected them is the fixed pricing, so that we can more clearly communicate, the pricing that we're offering according to the different equipment options. So this just shows the total cost to electrify is just under $32,000. But again, this assumes a whole home electrification project. So this assumes that the house has all 4 gas appliances and needs 4 circuits, and also needs like a sub panel, maybe because they don't have enough like slots on their main panel, but no panel upgrade or main panel upgrade. And it also includes permitting costs, testing costs for the HVAC. So this is, again, according to the contract pricing, but we're gonna have a bunch of different measures that are fixed in part of the contract that we will be able to offer. This just shows sort of the average cost. And then the other thing is that for income qualified homes, we will also continue to offer what we have in the current program, the current home upgrade program, which is minor home repairs, light energy efficiency. And then we're also adding resiliency measures, like right size resiliency measures. So some homes will receive like portable batteries and things like that. But we're budgeting a certain amount of homes will get that. So there is some money in the budget for that for income qualified homes. So this cost is not reflective of like the total investment that there may be per home on income qualified homes. There may be other components as well. Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Does Franklin, do you know if they've done any work with panels that allow power to come in, say, from a vehicle?
Panels that, like smart panels?
Well, a smart panel, there are new panels now where you can plug your car directly into your house.
Dual panel.
And it's like for, there's about a half dozen vehicles now that will push power both ways. So like a Ford, the Ford pickups now will do it. I'm just curious if they're looking at that as a future, like just because your car is basically set down the walls with the power, so.
I'm not sure if they have an experience with that. That's a good question. I can ask them. I'm not sure. But as part of the contract, that we do have pricing for, panel replacements, sub panels, smart panels, if we, chose to do that, like circuit pausers, circuit breakers, things like that.
They are doing smart panels. Or they
It's a measure.
they
I mean,
operate.
it'll depend like what we tell them, when we come through the program design and figure out like what the exact eligibility guidelines are, because smart panels are expensive. It is part of the pricing, so that if we want to, we have the option to do it. Doesn't mean we might do it in a lot of homes. Yeah. Yes.
Just on the induction range, is that like a whole stove oven combination? I mean, stove cooktop and oven,
Mhm.
that's a whole packet. Okay.
Yeah, there's, we have 2 prices in the contract. We have one for a range and then we have one for a cooktop.
Cooktop,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
And with regard to that work in the kitchen, do people typically have to take out all their stone and tile and everything? Those are just like, those are like the ancillary costs, like this is 31, but then all the extra stuff that has to go on. So you're not including any of that, it's all
No,
extra.
yeah, auxiliary costs like would not be
And what
included.
if
Yeah.
somebody needs to change out a fireplace?
We do not have that currently as a measure,
I think
yeah.
we should try to find
Okay.
that option, that if somebody wants to electrify their fireplace.
Okay,
And even though it's not required, like I know our REACH code doesn't allow it, but if you're gonna put a whole package together for people,
Mhm.
having an ability to take out your fireplace, insert gas and do electric would be great.
Okay.
They are so hard to find and they're not very pretty, so if you could figure out something that's decent, I think people would do it.
Okay, great. Yeah, we'll take note of that for sure. Yes.
Circuits, is that up there as a line item? Because once people start doing all this work, it's typical, they want an addition circuit.
No, so that's included there because the pricing, say for the water heater, doesn't include the circuit that the water heater needs. So four circuits are included here because
So
there's four
assuming there-
appliances.
assuming an additional Circuit.
For
is
every
being
four.
Added for.
Every four of the appliances listed here, yes, the water heater, HVAC, dryer, and the range. And so that's why there's four circuits. It assumes that the home doesn't already have that and needs it for every appliances.
So that sounds like that's a yes to my question.
Yes.
Bring a 10, 12 gauge wire for 50 feet.
Yeah, once you go into.
My God.
So.
Crawling underneath the base and you gotta put something around over here and.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
cost me $5,000.
Yeah, it's expensive.
And in the contract, we'll have even more granular pricing, because there's a lot of different costs for running circuits. So I think there's like 3 different ones depending on the length and like what they have to do. So there's sort of a range. I think we're just using an average. But if a home is getting all 4, like there should be some cost savings, the fact that they're already there. But yeah, this is just an average cost. Okay, so I know this is small on the screen here, but this is the contract overview, so the contract budget overview. So first, the thing I like to say, so it's broken out by segment, so income qualified, market rate, emergency water heater, and then the last line is just like anything that's non-direct installation costs, like implementation costs. On the count, so there's count across the 3 or 4 fiscal years technically, just because for income qualified, we do hope to have some installs done before the end of June. So that's the only reason why that's included there. This will be a 3-year contract, or I guess technically speaking, like a 3-year and 3-4-month contract. The counts here, so the counts of homes, which is like the white line in each segment, that assumes that each home is fully electrified. So that's key, because in practice, that's not going to be the case. So in practice, we're actually going to serve a lot more homes. It's just a simpler way to convey it. It's like a whole home equivalent. So that's the count if every single home needed all 4 electrification upgrades. The program will require that at least a water heater, a gas water heater or a gas furnace is replaced with an electric one. So we were not going to serve homes that just want a dryer, for example, just to again prioritize homes that are phasing out their largest methane gas uses. But yes, if a home only gets, say, let's just say like a HVAC system, then that will be a home that we serve, but they're not getting all 4. So that's the count just assumes every home is getting everything, which will not be true in practice. So the count is going to be greater. And then for market rate installs, that's the same thing. It assumes that every home is getting a heat pump water heater and heat pump HVAC both. Again, as I mentioned, like we're not adding any new incentives. So all the money here that you see in market rate installs is for incentives, assuming our current rebate structure. So assuming our current heat pump water heater, heat pump HVAC rebates, they're just flowing through this contract because it's for installations that are being done as this contract, but it's really through our existing incentive budget. Yes.
We have a wait list on our full home electrification. How many people are on that wait list?
We have about 50 or so right now.
50 or so people on the wait list,
Mhm.
okay. And so on that, as people come off the wait list, if we get these other funds that come in and our city wants to put funds back into that program for people from our city, could we do that?
Yes, and that's that actually kind of takes me to the Menlo Park line that's here.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah.
curious about, okay.
Yeah, so
Second question was what's Menlo Park?
yeah. So, yes.
Yeah, okay, 2 questions. On the market rate installs, do these numbers and dollar amounts apply to those that actually do the install? So we're paying to do an assessment,
Mhm.
and then that contractor is doing an install, but no doubt there's gonna be assessments that we paid for where there aren't installs.
Mhm.
Where are those costs?
Those costs are actually in the implementation costs. So for market rate installs, that budget line, all that's included there is rebates on the equipment itself, so heat pump water heater rebates and heat pump HVAC rebates, and also technically loans, because if a customer wants to get a loan and they're going through this turnkey install service, like they'll still be able to do that, and that way the money would flow through Franklin, which is why we had to make some assumptions about like some projects are gonna get a loan and some of that loan is gonna flow through them. So, but that's just incentives and loan. The site assessment cost is on implementation line.
Okay, so the one thing, and you may have this, but the one thing that's missing up there is what is the greenhouse gas savings for, to be able to do a comparison,
Okay,
right? Like, for, let's just take the 3-year total. If we should know what the greenhouse gas savings are for each of those different categories. So we can kind of assess the impact of dollars to results.
thank you.
If I might, through the chair, one general comment is that necessarily low-income programs are more expensive on a GHG per dollar basis, and so
Yeah.
there'll be a big difference between the
Yeah,
loans.
I understand, but we should have the information anyway.
And it'd also be nice to see cumulatively how many homes we've helped versus like, there's gonna be ones we know that have electrified that aren't even in this program. But if we had I'm like, what percentage are we through electrifying the county? Like, it's gonna be
Yeah,
tiny, it's gonna be tiny, it's gonna be tiny, but I think that understanding the magnitude and how much work we still have ahead of us is really important.
There are 187,000 housing units in the county. I was just higher.
I'm kind of surprised that the program didn't move the needle more on market rate installs. Those numbers, that just seems like a small number.
I think people are doing them, but maybe not coming through us.
Yeah, so
I think that if this program launches and we're really able to offer anyone who wants it the assessment, that granted that they'll be paying at a market rate, that we'll get demand way beyond these numbers. I mean, if we market it right, we're gonna get a lot of demand, which will address your issue.
today, our estimate is that roughly 5% of installations of water heaters and furnaces are being converted to electric appliances. So every year, 12 to 14,000 water heaters are replaced in the service territory. Roughly 5% are being converted to electric, which is a very small number, but it's much larger than where we were 2 years ago. These numbers here do not count all the people who are going through the standard program. That's why they appear very small, the standard rebate, right? This is only people who are choosing to do turnkey, and we don't actually know what the level of demand is here, so that it's a little bit challenging to estimate, but it could certainly be higher. But we do anticipate that still most people will be going through the standard rebate process.
Yeah, so, we're estimating that the majority are gonna do through the rebate program, that's why the counts here are low. This is not reflective of all market rate electrification installs in the county, or even through that PCE will support. And then on the implementation costs, this includes anything that's non-direct installation, so it includes like customer support, contractor oversight, the site assessments, admin reporting tasks. And some of these costs will be shared with SVCE. Especially those that are like the startup costs and the admin costs and stuff like that, they will be shared with SVCE. The overall, obviously, implementation costs in terms of like site assessments and customer support, that will be, tracked separately, since it'll depend on the volume that each territory has. Okay, and then the Menlo Park home that I just wanted to mention, I think is a little bit talked more about in the memo, but so Menlo Park got a grant from the California Energy Commission, $4.5 million grant to do a community-wide electrification project. And that's, they want to use that to electrify low-income homes in the Bellhaven neighborhood, so they're District 1. Because we already have a program, and we'll have a program framework that's doing the same things, which is no cost electrification for income qualified homes. They, their council has, they've already gone through like one council hearing in that they want to allocate half the funds. So the reason there's only a 2 million is because they only right now have half the funds. That's how the grant works from the state, and then they'll get the other 2 million later. they want to allocate that fund through the PCE program. So, all of that funds will be to income qualified homes. So they're not supporting any of the other, segments of the program, is specifically income qualified, installations. And they're just allocating that to our program so that we can do essentially more homes in Menlo Park, specifically the Bellhaven neighborhood. We will, I know it's not detailed here, but we're going to work with them through an agreement, so that's imminent, and that's the reason we chose to include it here, is because of the timeline. Like, I think they want to go to their council in the next month or two in getting an agreement executed. So rather than having to come back for an amendment, because ultimately the money's going to flow through Franklin as the implementer, we just included it here, knowing that that's coming up. So the PCE budget is 24 million, but the contract is for 26 because of the 2 million from Menlo Park. And then the chart on the right just shows sort of like the distribution. So you'll see the majority, like 80% of the budget, is on the cost of fully electrifying income qualified homes. So it's like just that direct installation cost. And then, even like an additional 6% is like just estimated to be on helping low income customers electrify, and just the implementation cost of all of that. So the majority of the budget is focused on income qualified installs, but we are introducing these 2 new segments as part of that in the other part. Yes.
So I believe in the report it said single family and some small multifamily are eligible. Is that correct?
Just single family,
Oh,
yeah.
just single family. So what if you are a single family renter? Do you have to be a single family homeowner?
You do have to be a homeowner,
So
yes.
single family homeowners, this program is who?
That's right, yes.
You could be a landlord.
Oh, yeah, you could be a landlord and apply and upgrade it for your tenant, but what I'm saying is if a tenant wanted to apply
They have
and
to
work,
get their landlord
they'd have to
to
get their
do it.
landlord to apply, help them.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think if you're a landlord, like for sure, through the market rate install service, you can go through it. If you're a landlord that has like a low income tenant, then that's not really a scenario that we've discussed, but it probably market rate install instead of income qualified.
You might in, like, I know in like San Mateo County and North Central, there are some low income people who own rentals across the street that have them in their families for years and years and years. But they themselves are low income and then they charge very low rents. So
Yeah.
that kind of situation you might.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. Yeah, the contract doesn't specify all of these requirements. So that's something that we can determine ourselves, and will be in the handbook, but we, at any point, if we want to change eligibility or anything like that, we can.
I'd just like to figure out a way to help renters also benefit from this program.
I think we could do that by targeting the landlord, but
They're not gonna wanna make that $20,000.
some of the firms, there's a big article in the Almanac about, I think it's a 6-unit landlord who just made this whole
Everything, all like.
deal, yeah, very interesting.
Okay, that's the end. Any questions? Any additional questions?
Get the word out about this?
Yeah, so the marketing for the program will be led by PCE. So we intend to be the ones implementing all the marketing. So we'll do, how we market our market rate programs right now is like Google Ads, like email campaigns, like through our energy bulletin. So largely email and ads, like paid ads, paid media. But for the income qualified piece, we do intend to engage directly with a community-based organization. So as you know, we have the outreach grants, and we've had that through the outreach team. So there's been a way for CBOs to refer people to the home upgrade program now, but it's been in more of like less of a contractual way. It's just like through the grants, and then they provide referrals. But this time we set like directly, like PCE directly intends to engage with the CBO to do like on the ground outreach and like kind of canvassing specific neighborhoods to enroll them into the program. But that would be working directly with the CBO that's sort of already doing that through the outreach grants, but just funding them more appropriately. But that's not part of this contract, because we're just going to work directly with them to sort of work out a separate agreement aside from the outreach grants that they have with us already. Yeah.
Yeah, and any
Oh,
other questions? Okay, so this is an action item. I need a motion.
First public
Oh,
comment.
public comment. Good enough. Is there any public comment on this matter? Thank you. We did, oh, you wanna read that? Oh, no, that's, we have a
no,
public
David-
comment?
David Morrow, a moment. It's coming online.
There we go. Okay. Hey, good morning, everybody. Great conversation. Raphael is correct. We met with Raphael a few times, and it's a hard market for the signatory contractors, organizers to get into the residential market. But as the IBW and the building trades are actively training new contractors to enter into the residential electrification market. So, you know, they did try their best. Raphael did give it a great try, but it's just the signatory contractors just aren't ready yet. But hopefully we'll have new contractors that maybe the next go around will be a little more involved. The only thing I caution you on with the prevailing wage is that the compliance on this is that to make sure that there's no misclassification of the workforce where they'll have a guy saying he's doing patching and painting and plastering when he's actually doing plumbing or electrical work. So that I caution you on that. That will probably be the hardest thing to monitor, the actual classification of the workers. So, but we applaud you to go after the prevailing wage. It's a level playing field. As long as the people doing it are above board, you should have no problem. But I would caution you to, in the beginning, to actually monitor classification of workers on a regular basis to make sure they're doing the right thing. Like that, it's all good.
Okay, thank you, Dave.
Okay.
Any other public comment? Okay, I'll close public comment, bring it back to the board. Marty.
To address that question about the prevailing wage, we require something in writing from the contractor saying that their employees are receiving prevailing wage, and do they provide any proof of that?
Yeah, so but built into the contract is prevailing wage compliance will be required. Franklin will be the one sort of, verifying that compliance, but in the contract it's also built in that PC will have auditing capabilities. Franklin intends to use the California Department of Industrial Relations portal to verify prevailing wage compliance.
Okay.
So each of the contractors are going to, abide by that process, and they'll be, verifying that compliance.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, two comments. One, we are only addressing 5% of the residents in the county right now. So as this type of program is launched, that number is naturally going to grow. And if it grows significantly enough, then it absolutely will be something that's targeted by unions. And I think we will keep abreast of that, and I really appreciate the IBEW connection to this and assessment of it, because that's gonna help us make that launch successful. Secondly, I need a motion, but I recommend that in the motion where it says that there's a 3-year contract with Franklin Energy in an amount not to exceed 26 million, that we clearly state of which 24 million is from PCE. I think that would be good when it goes to the board. Jeff.
With that provision that Rick has just outlined, I will make that motion.
Great. Second, Marty, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, anyone opposed? Unanimously approved. Next item on the agenda is discussion and status update of the PCE in-house contact center concept.
Hello, morning, thank you. Coming here today to do a little bit of an update on the in-house contact center. I'm gonna start with a little bit of a review of conversation that you had previously about this a few months ago, and then a status update of where we are today in this process. So as you saw in Alejandra's presentation, here's the vision of residential services. all of these different components coming together. And this is really what is helping to drive this decision point about transitioning our contact center services to be in-house, is providing support for all of these different things that we want to do. Currently, you know, we do have a variety of different contact points. Right now, we have the Calpine Energy Solutions, who's our data management. They oversee the primary, you know, the 1-800 number that customers call if they've got questions about their bill, that is subcontracted out to another third party that does all of the CCA call center fulfillment for Calpine's clients that they provide that service to. So it is one central provider doing that for the CCA clients, but it is another, you know, step removed again from our direct sort of consideration. And then we've got all these different players over here. Now, some of these contracts have changed. We've got new people coming in, as you heard, for new providers. But again, even more justification for why we really need to come up with a solution to help integrate all of this stuff into one place coming forward, to be able to really have a vision and a sort of a 360 view on where people are coming from, what are the options that are available to them, what questions people could come up with, and develop some more internal expertise on how to handle those questions when they come in. So we've got the one-stop shop vision, you know, with the website that marketing team is working on with programs. You know, they're working on building that out right now. And then this is where we're coming in, you know, with sort of the phone contact services to help integrate all those touch points coming in with a higher level of service that are coming from PCE directly. So with that call center services that we have right now, the staff members that are contracted through that third party provider with Calpine, they're really there just to answer very basic questions about charges on the bill, who Peninsula Clean Energy is, and basic program offerings. Really not a lot more than what's available on our website, and to help make sure that people understand who PCE is. You know, if they're calling like, what is this charge on my bill? I don't understand. I didn't sign up for this program. And that really is most of what those interactions are today. We don't rely on those folks to do more than that for a variety of reasons. They've done a very, very good service for us, you know, over the years, but we're ready to transition into a more, you know, complex relationship, I guess, with our customers. And we really need to have a more robust frontline service available for them to do that. We want to have more direct control, really, of those interactions, where right now, you know, we do audit those phone calls that come in. Jaden's, you know, doing sort of a weekly download of review of voicemails. But again, all the feedback we get is, you know, 3, 4, 5 days delayed. We, you know, send notes back. It's not ideal because we don't have real-time access to what's going on in that system. Everything is coming at us from a delay. And so if we want to offer this higher level of service to customers, we really need to be able to have a more of a real-time view of them. And so that's why we're looking and doing this investigation going forward. Also, you know, from the DEAI customer centricity perspective, you know, we've heard from our customers over the years when we've been broaching this decarbonization journey, you know, with them through surveys, through focus groups, through just anecdotally in the community, that, you know, they want more support from PCE to sort of take this next step. A lot of them don't necessarily feel confident in being able to do these things and make this investment in their home without a trusted partner along the way. And so that's what we're looking to do here with these build out of these additional services. And we really want to meet the customers where they are in this journey. And that is sort of a critical step in this customer centricity, you know, that we're trying to pivot to here. So doing this research now and making the investment into building out this more robust frontline customer contact center experience is really an important step along the way. So what we're working on right now in this next sort of chunk of time in the early spring is working with some external consultants and staff to do a deep dive into our existing system. So that's both the Calpine IVR system and their CRM that they have platformed, which we do believe we're going to just sort of just kind of take over using that system. Right now, we're not in this phase of bringing it in-house, envisioning sort of scrapping that and starting over with a different technology platform. There are other CCAs that have done that. CPSF is one of them, where they just have their own staff now that sort of interacts with that existing platform. But then also we need to do the integration with PowerPath and the other things that the programs team has going on. So really taking a holistic look at all of the different touch points and different ways that we're interacting and tracking the customer journey. And what do we need to do to bring that together if we're going to offer this service in-house under, you know, one sort of coordinated umbrella? So what are the technology solutions that we need to maybe bring on? Are there some other resources that we need to have, the budget and staff that we feel like we need to support that? We have some general ideas, but really need to bring some more people who actually do this work on board with us to help us really flesh out that plan. And then the plan is also then to bring it back to the board for a more sort of thorough presentation in a couple months, likely around the May timeframe, so that we can ideally move forward with this in the new fiscal year is the vision. So there we go. Questions?
Yeah, okay, so can you go back to the previous slide? Or this one? Maybe it's too important.
You want to go back?
Yeah, please, and one before that.
This one?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So I've got a lot of experience in dealing with this. Sandy said, I built a whole company that
Yeah.
succeeded at it.
You're in charge.
The number one problem here is that what we do right now with Alpine, it is what's on the website except for the billing questions. The billing questions get answered at a level of service that goes beyond what somebody could get on the website, and that's good. And we can take that over utilizing their CRM. I think we can do that very successfully. The problem is on the right. On the right, if a human answers the call to figure out where the caller needs to go, we're gonna have a problem. Because all of those different buckets have to be addressed by different people. Nobody's gonna understand how to address programmatic related questions that is the same person that knows how to address billing questions. It's not gonna happen. They're different people and they're gonna have to be different, that they have different expertise. And within the program area, given what we just approved, it's a complex set of concierge services that we want to provide, some of which are lightweight and some of which are heavyweight. And that's good. I mean, I think that's how we get to improve customer service and make it customer centric, like we're committed to. But for that to succeed, there's gotta be software.
I don't know.
Absolutely gotta be software that interacts with the caller in an IVR that allows the caller to choose an option without a human choosing it, otherwise it's very expensive. And there's mistakes made. I mean, there's gonna be mistakes made anyway, but that software, and there's a bunch of different offerings out there, but we need it tailored to us. So I think the critical piece of this to succeed is how good that software is that takes those initial calls.
Well, and so if I may, one of the tasks of the external consultant, who will be working with Leslie and team and Raphael, is to figure out where are we at now and what are those softwares? I mean, we already know of a number of them.
Well, and for them to succeed at that, we have to define what the options are that the caller needs to go to. And if we can be clear, this isn't easy, because this is the heart of customer service, right? To really genuinely give somebody who's calling a real customer service in a couple minutes based on segmentation. To the extent we can be really clear about that, that's gonna help that software provider enormously.
Great, because the deliverable back to the board in the May timeframe is essentially a miniature business plan for this, right? Unfortunately, we don't have it yet. We need the expertise of an outside consultant who's done this work. We have a line on somebody now, which is great, who's done it nationally for many different companies, to pull the business plan together. So this is not ready for full adoption. at this
Mhm.
point. But we do wanna say it goes with the turnkey electrification
It has to.
services. And, but I think your good question said, you know, maybe being involved along the way would be super
Happy
great.
to, but-
But this is to let you know that this person is about to come on board as an external consultant. It could be a contract for hire scenario, where if it works out and she does a great job and she wants to stick with us and the board approves it, it could revert to, a full-time position, but that is not determined as yet. Does that get to the?
Yeah, and so, just, and maybe, Rick, maybe you don't know, but we do have an existing IVR system. When, people call for the Calpine, they do hit an IVR system now. And so, yeah, part of that functionality analysis that we're gonna do is like, what is our ability to add additional sort of like trees or program additional things into that existing IVR system? Or, you know, is there a way to kick out from that IVR system into another software, you know, that can interact with people that would be specifically for PCE? So these are kind of the things that we need to look into. We've had I've had very open conversations with Calpine about this, that this is a plan that we're going down, and we're gonna need their support to help us, you know, look at this transition option. And, you know, they've been a very good partner with us, you know, along the way, and they recognize that this is not any sort of indictment of their services they provided us. This is just us moving into a new phase of what we're trying to do. And so they're very supportive of, you know, helping us figure out how to make this transition, if that's what we decide to do. And then also, you know, back us up down the road if we want to, like in our next contract, you know, contract for some additional backup services, which we might want to do, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had it first, but I have to go to 11:30. Quick question about,
Yeah.
Physical footprint. I mean, will we actually have to have more staff on site?
Yes. Well, not, they don't have to be on site. This would be remote, you know, so
Okay,
envisioning these would be
so
remote
it wouldn't
staff.
necessarily require it then to like have a whole.
No, yeah, I'm not envisioning
Yeah,
this
not
as, I'm not envisioning this as like having people come in and sit in a room together.
Yeah.
That this is our current contact center services have transitioned to be remote, and they've been very successful that way. And I would like to have this be remote as well. I think that we would have a better opportunity to recruit, you know, good people that could work remotely. Yeah.
Sorry, Colleen, thank you for letting me go. Thank you. Just gonna step into the lane.
Very strange fiasco transaction with Apple. And I give them huge marks for customer service. It was so impressive. But part of it is every step of the way, I was told when someone was gonna get back to me, and they stuck to it. That's huge. The
Yeah.
other thing is, even at present, are we doing surveys of people that use the website or call in and say, did we solve your problem? What could we do better? Because otherwise, we're working with a consultant on what we think people want. And do we really know?
Yeah, so right now, we aren't doing a lot of follow-up surveys on the contact center piece right now. I can tell you though that, you know, what we're doing is we could do a lot better. We could do a lot better, because when people call and that call needs to be escalated, it does take a minimum, usually 24 hours for us to be able to turn that around, because it needs to get escalated out of the contact center to our account manager with Calpine, to us. And then we can look into it and respond. It's usually not, you know, like a quicker, like 2-hour turnaround or even a same day turnaround. It's usually at least a 24-hour delay for an escalation out, which we can definitely do better than that if we're not having to go through like 2 layers of, you know, contact in order to respond to that customer.
I don't even think 1 or 2 days, or even if it goes to 3, is a problem, so long as you inform the person and you're good for it. Where
Yeah.
you stick to it, you're good for your word, because at least the worst thing that I hear from people that contact PCE is they made a contact and they don't know when they're gonna get an answer, or they didn't quite get the answer and they don't know what to do. So if they're at least given some certainty, 1 to 3 days even is doable. Even now, if we say someone will be back to you in 1 to 3, we've escalated this, and that we stand behind that.
Yeah, so I know that our SLAs, you know, with the contact center are a minimum of 24-hour turnaround, you know, for you know, follow-up for something that needs to be escalated out. If they have to escalate it out of not just to Calpine, but they need to escalate it out to PCE staff to follow up, that's where sometimes that turnaround, that follow-up is then it becomes on us to do that follow-up. And it's not always clear, it's not, as I'm saying, it's not a great system right now. I wanna get out of this. If we're gonna be needing to provide more services to people, the process that we have right now does not allow for that, because it's a very transactional basic process. And if we want to provide higher level services, answer more complex questions, we have to have a better, different way of doing it, because right now it's not, it's not, we're not gonna have success. Yeah, yeah.
But if you don't mind, I'd love to add, Leslie, when the person comes in and we do this, you know, business plan, the service level agreement issue is critical, right?
Yeah.
It's a huge part of the Calpine contract. And we need to have our own, right, our own internal checks and balances on our own service level agreements. And so I'm thinking about not only what the proposed staffing plan will be, but also how are we handling, you know, redundancy internally? 'Cause now we can't go back out to Calpine and say, that was you, it's all us. And just a question mark around compensation and service level agreement performance, that's a question. So we could talk later, but those are top of mind because the risk transfers to us.
Yeah.
And the responsibility transfers to us. And
Yes.
I know that we're up to the task, but we should just address that head on.
Okay, we need to talk later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a discussion item. Moving on.
Yep.
The next item on the agenda is recommendation of an update for.
Public
Do we have
comment.
public comment? I think we missed public comment.
Is there public comment?
Did I
Or
not take
other
public
questions.
comment on
I
that?
think it was a split item weirdly, so.
Okay, was there any public comment on the in-house contact center issue? Okay, moving on.
It's your favorite topic.
Next item is the CAC recruitment and appointment.
Good morning. I'm Kristen Andrews-Schwind, Senior Manager of Community Relations. And yeah, here to talk with you about the Community Advisory Commitment Recruitment Options. Natalie, next slide.
You have a clicker. Clicker?
Clicker. Oh, I have a clicker. Fantastic. Great.
Right up there.
Thank you. Okay, great. So first I want to thank many of you here for participating each year in the Community Advisory Committee recruitment process and serving on that ad hoc committee. Just to give you a quick overview of why I'm here is our committee has become very popular and we may want to rethink how we do that process. And so I'm glad to have many members of that subcommittee here.
So just to be aware, we only have 20 minutes. So
Great.
I'd say.
Rush through.
Get-
All right.
until
We all
we
know
get
the
to the
role.
sub-
Okay, here we go. So here's the trend in applications for the last 3 years for this committee. In 2020, we used to just get, a fair number of applications, kind of equal the number of slots we had. It was a pretty easy process. Every year we'd open up the application process, interview all the candidates, and it was fine. But then the last few years, we've seen a doubling of the number of candidates. Last year, we had 22 candidates, and it becomes just more challenging in terms of staff time and the board time. And I really appreciate the dedication of folks in this room to want to interview all of the candidates. But then we have to turn away most of those candidates. And these are people who really want to be involved with us, who get excited, put some time into applying. And it's not necessarily a great customer experience for us to turn away 17 people who really wanted to serve on this. And so in order to reduce the time burden on staff and the board members, provide a better experience for applicants, and to fill vacancies with qualified candidates more quickly when they open up during the year, I'm recommending a few changes here and would like your ideas. So this year we have 2 openings on the committee from committee members who either basically got too busy and didn't have time. We have 2 committee members who are going to end their terms and have the option to apply for a new term as well. So 2 to 4 known vacancies. What I'm suggesting we consider is to go back to last year's pool of qualified applicants, because we had to turn down so many excellent people. And run a full recruitment cycle every 2 to 3 years instead of annually. And then in the meanwhile, go back to these excellent pools of people, rank them so that we can, when we have an opening, we can just go to the next ranked person and appoint them. And then maintain that list of top runner-up candidates till we get through our ranked list of great candidates, and then open up the process again. So interested in your thoughts on these ideas.
So I don't really have a question, but I have a couple of thoughts.
Well, so before we get to comments, I'll take public comment. I have one question. Did you consider, so I understand the point that you're making. You've got a big list of applicants, most of which aren't appointed because there's more applicants than there's vacancies. And you're recommending to keep that active and to run the full recruitment cycle every 2 to 3 years. But my question is, did you consider just going back to running the recruitment cycle every year, but not requiring the applicants that previously applied to have to apply again and just ask if they're interested? And if they're interested, they don't need to submit a new application. Did you look at that?
Yes.
And and so then the question is, why is it better to do recruitment every 2 to 3 years rather than to?
I think it's a pretty big burden on staff time as well as to the burden on
The burden is evaluating the applications, right? It's not the outreach so much as the
No.
applications.
And the interviews.
And the interviews for the, but right now we're interviewing everyone, even if they applied the year before. So if you weren't interviewing everyone, if they applied the year before, it would be less of a burden, but I don't know how material that is.
We do record the interviews because we did them all on Zoom. Right, Marty and I, you were part of that.
I've done it for a number of years.
We were all on Zoom, so the videos are recorded and the answers are recorded.
Okay, so that's the question. Marty, question?
Yeah, I've been on the interview panels for a number of years, and my suggestion would be like how we do it here at PCE Board of Directors, that we have an alternate. So we interview people, we select the person who's the representative, and then we have a pool of alternates that you could easily just say, well, you're automatically in if there is somebody that drops out. The issue I have with the 2 to 3 years, I understand the staff time, but you know, some people get really energized when they hear about and their availability that they'll have to wait 3 years to kind of get a chance to get on the board. But I understand and appreciate why we want to make a pool of board members more readily available. Because just like in our city, when people drop off of culture and arts or beautification task force, it's like there's this longer time it takes for them to wait to fill those vacancies, and then it takes a lot of time. So I'm thinking maybe some kind of hybrid with allowing the alternate to be ready to step in, so you don't need to interview them. They're like pre-approved.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a couple of comments.
No stating public comment online, but we did receive an email from the CAC Chair, Cheryl Schaff. So the board members have a copy of this at their place, but I'm going to read this into the record for the benefit of the public as well. Happy New Year, Honorable Chair DeGolia and members of the Executive Committee. turning towards the mic. As you may know, the CAC has 2 vacancies, having lost 2 members since new terms began last summer. Kirsten Andrews Schwinn shared that this level of turnover has been typical for our CAC since its inception, but I'd like to encourage PCE to fill the open positions as soon as possible. We're fortunate to have a diverse and enthusiastic group of members with keen interest in PCE's mission and valuable sustainability experience that they bring to our committee work. The CAC has 15 members, though, for a reason. When seats are empty and voices missing, the group feels the loss and a slight dip in morale. Each of the members who recently resigned were participating in working groups that now need more members to contribute. Because the 2023 recruiting effort for 5 CAC vacancies was so productive and a big group of applicants had to be denied, it seems wise to invite some of last year's applicants to fill the current vacancies. The applicants likely will be delighted, and our CAC quickly could return to full energy and capacity. Please consider this idea that veers from PCE's typical procedure, but will benefit current and aspiring CAC members as well as the PCE organization. Thank you for your attention, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've been involved in this almost every year and done a lot of the interviews. And my really biggest issue around this is transparency to the public. I really feel strongly that to not open this up, but every 2 or 3 years, we lose an opportunity to market ourselves and put ourselves out there in the newsletters, and B, it's just not that transparent. And also, for those of you who haven't sat on all these committees, and Dave has, and Marty and I have, when we put these candidates together, we curate them. So just creating a list and saying, you're ranked 1, 2, 3, 4 is not relevant, because if you could have 5 Burlingame people ranked as the top 5, and we already have 5 on, now we have 10 Burlingame people. If a East Palo Alto person leaves who's Black and or person from Burlingame leaves and speaks Spanish, we want to replace that person with another Spanish. So the pool, you can never rank them and just pull off a pool. You'd have to have a pool and then say, what are we missing geographically, this, that, who in the pool, and then pull. So if you, the most I'd be willing to go down to would be every other year, every 2 years. And then creating a pool, but the pool cannot be ranked. It has to be, you'd have to come back to the committee, have us look over all those people, and then the committee would make a recommendation that this person and that person are the ones to fulfill, would be the best to fulfill the needs that are missing in the thing. And then that could go back. So I could get along with every other year, but I really don't want to go 3 years without opening this to people, because I think Marty's 100% right. It's not, it's just not transparent enough.
So we want to encourage people to stay involved, and every 3 years, I mean, that's just like,
It's too
I
long.
can't apply.
Every other
So wait, so that would argue against having an alternate kind of.
So the pool would be the alternates. And then
The pool, so
You have a group of 10 or 12 that are,
qualified.
that are qualified, so you go through 18 and you create a pool that's qualified, and out of that qualified group, and you explicitly say who is qualified,
right?
which we probably don't now
Well, you
say
don't-
who
well,
is
you
not
don't-
qualified, but that would be saying who is not qualified.
I think there is anyone we've never come upon anyone who's not qualified. Everybody's qualified in their own way. They bring a different perspective.
So then you're basically saying the pool is those that weren't appointed.
Yes.
Okay, so I think every other year is a mistake. I think it's really valuable to do it every year, but I'm sensitive to the time commitment of both staff and the board. And what I would like to get a sense of, well, could we dramatically reduce that time commitment if we didn't have to re-interview and reassess those that had all previously applied? So if you do what Donna said, you get your group of applicants, you select your 5 people, and the remainder are in the pool. I think that the chair and vice chair should be able to, and maybe we currently are by the, what is going to be the new policy 16, replace those that drop out in mid-year, not wait till the end
No,
of the
you
year.
just, you can drop them, you can replace them immediately.
On a rolling basis.
Yeah, I think they should be
One- one-
replaced immediately, but then the next year, when the recruitment comes up, I think it's valuable for PC to reach out to the public. But I don't want to have the staff and the board re-interview everyone that had previously
No, you wouldn't
applied.
do that.
I have just another. This may totally go down in flames, but I'm gonna throw it out there. If you really wanna take it off of you guys. Another option, because we always have, you know, such a narrow, we have 15 seats, we have 22 cities in the county. And we get these huge pools. And I asked about increasing the committee, because when you have 15 and 4 are, you know, 2 are rolling and 3 dropped off, and all of a sudden you're down to 9 or 10, it feels small. And it, like she said, it's hard to delegate the work. Another option would be to simply assign all the cities. You have to put you know, Burlingame has to pick a Burlingame CAC member. Every city has to pick a member and put it on, and the cities are responsible for recruiting those people. Now, you might not get age diversity, you might not get, you know, there's a few things that might be missing, but that's just another way. If you want to, if it's really a staff time issue.
I think the curation part of that could be tricky. Because then there's,
You hard to look
That
across
puts
the
more
whole.
pressure on staff, they have to manage
Well,
the
there's
city.
no right, the city would manage themselves. You wouldn't
Well,
curate
if they
it.
did.
It would be like,
You lose control of the area.
you would lose control over the. Right, exactly. You would lose control of that, but I'm just offering it as another option. To either, you know, the other thing could be to expand, expand the committee to say 18 or something, and it wouldn't, but it's a little more time management. But I think your suggestion, Rick, of we've archived these, you know, we have to ask the same questions to everyone to be fair. We can't change the questions. If we change the questions, we need to go back to those candidates and ask them. And if we keep it on Zoom, and we did 10-minute interviews is what we did. And then what we basically said was, out of the 3 of us, just 2 of us need to be there, like, just get 2 there. And then we set it up. Now, staff, you guys came to everything, but you don't really need to come to all the meetings either. I mean, we're perfectly capable of interviewing people on Zoom, and you could watch them at your own convenience. Because the issue was coordinating everybody's calendars for 22 10-minute slots. So we basically just did hours. We said, okay, are you available this hour? And we put 4 slots of 15 minutes with a 5-minute break in between. That worked. That worked.
Do you have a sense of how many, so there were 20 some applicants last year, you showed the numbers. And do you have a sense of how many of the 22 were included in the 13?
Oh, yeah, there we generally have no duplication from year to year.
0 so.
Yeah,
the
I think
13,
people get a little
22,
bit discouraged.
There was not one person in the 13 that was in the 22?
No,
Wow.
no, I think they get a little discouraged and they don't want to apply again.
But see, I compare that to like our commissions, and people reapply to our commissions 2 and 3 times before they get on. So, if the problem is, you're gonna have unhappy people, even if you tell them, I'm gonna put you in the pool, because they go do other things. They take time and do other things, and they fill their spot. They're looking to volunteer, they don't get picked, they find something else to do. And then when you go back to them in a year or 2 years and say, hey, now we're ready for you to
B-list.
apply. Yeah, they don't do it. So then, and we don't really need them to reapply in a way, because we just get a whole nother slew of people that are at that point in time capable, interested, and whatever.
Hey, Jeff.
Is it feasible and would it be helpful to curate at the application level? So if we get, next year, if we get 30 applications, could we sort of sort those out and say, and just not interview everyone, but sort of, you know, and specifically we could curate for, you know, this location, you know, we could say here are 6 people who we think are the candidates. Can we just interview these 6 people for the 6 spots we have, or something like that? And does that solve any of the problems in terms of workload and burden.
I mean, I think we got 100, sorry, Marty. I think if we got 100 applications, you'd have to do it. You just couldn't interview all those
At some
people.
point, you have to expect, I guess my question is it 20 or is it
Even at
5?
22, I really felt like, I mean, we've had 35 people apply for one commission seat and we've interviewed them all. Because it's transparency for the public, and there's always the surprise candidate
Yeah.
who doesn't, on paper is like this, but then you meet them, or the one you think is great, they come to their meeting and you're like, I will never put that person in this committee because they're obnoxious. You know, they're not gonna fit with the chemistry of the group. But the other option would be, we could, you know, ask the one other thing we could do is we could put some of this on the CAC and maybe have them create a subcommittee to interview, if they were willing to interview some of the applicants, to get it down to a list. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little complicated. I know we're a little short on time.
Yeah.
I think maybe we could allow staff to kind of think it over a little bit more, and then looking at the number of applicants that are gonna be for 2024 and the number of vacancies, we can kind of start coming back with another solution.
Yeah, we are getting in the time of year where we need to start our process.
Okay.
So we put off for another month, then our appointment process will be delayed by about a month.
So I have no problem with taking the pool of 22, figuring out who would fit most closely match the people who've been gone, regionally, age, all the other things, and inviting those people in.
To fill
those immediate
So
needs.
bifurcate the issue.
They just get to fill the rest of the term.
Fill the need right now.
Yes.
And then think about an amended process.
Yes, yeah, and I have no problem with filling the need from the pool.
In general, I like the idea of having a bench to fill vacancies that come up.
Immediately.
What happens to the vacancy? Are they only filling the remainder of the term, or are they starting?
They fill the remainder of the term.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think staff should also review this should also go to the CAC, whether there's any value increasing the size of the CAC. I mean, the CAC look, we know a 23-member board is a burden problem. So 15 is a big board. I'm not advocating that it be increased, but it should be assessed.
Well, we could easily fill a larger pool. But is that cumbersome?
Put a bunch of alternates, so they can still attend the meeting, at least they won't be able to vote.
Well, they can always attend the meeting.
Right.
It's their public meetings, and that's what we tell everyone.
But you get a title.
Probably
as alternate, and they more likely will attend the meeting if they're given the chance to become a board member or member.
This is a proposal to continue.
Yes, but what I'm hearing is an approval or guidance that we can go ahead as per this request.
Yes.
Fill the
Yeah.
immediate need for the
Yes.
remainder of the term.
Yes.
Yeah.
It might even be something you wanna bring back to the CAC for their input to look at a longer term.
Yeah.
Process amendment that is both transparent and efficient. So what we got going on right now is slightly inefficient.
What I
Yeah.
would suggest is staff take a look at the pool of applicants. Staff select who they think would fit in and why, and bring it to the board for approval.
Yeah, and as you know, we have really excellent candidates from last year, and I want to thank again the board members who put in so much time in interviewing all of the board members. And I know that some of you have been on the committee year after year, and it's been, really thank you for that time.
Before it goes directly to the board, I think it should go at least to the board members that did the interview.
Okay. So that would be
Or-
Dave and
or
Marty.
Under the executive committee. since
You
that
were, on
includes
it, weren't
but-
you? You and me, it was you, me and Dave, the three of us.
Okay,
And
so-
Pradita last year.
Last one.
You were, no, you were, because you couldn't come to a bunch, but I said, I'll send you all the videos and I know. And
So what we'll do is we'll send it to those of you who are on, because we would like to appoint these people at the federal level.
We want to appoint them by May, but if we were going to do the whole process, we would need to start now.
Well, we need to do the whole process for the two openings, correct?
So if you can do it by February, great.
Let's reconvene on that, because what I think we just said, let's be clear,
Yes.
the two openings, we can pull from the pool
Right.
The partial terms.
for partial terms sooner than later, and
Yeah.
possibly even by February, I think.
Oh,
Tell me
certainly.
what's- Yeah,
Yeah.
For
sure.
sure. Well, I'm gonna be out of town, but we could do that.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Just today or tomorrow. That's it.
sure, so just for clarity, then the two people who are terming off and may or may not seek reappointment,
Another suggestion.
what would we do with them?
I have a suggestion on that, just really quick. I would say if they have been, the chances of us bumping an incumbent, if they've been a good participant, are small. So I would, so long as they still have terms available, because we can do three-year terms, I would ask them if they plan to seek reappointment. And if they do, I would just reappoint those two. And then you're not gonna have an opening.
do you know what their plans are?
I will ask them.
I mean, we might go a whole year without having a seat open on the board, but that's okay, because we don't have
It's
a,
set up so a third of the seats come up every year.
we do have that, but a third of them might roll every year and the people all
Oh,
get
because
back
the
on.
people are gonna come
Yeah.
back on. Yes, that's true.
So-
This year, we only have two rolling off, actually.
So you could end up with, for night, them all rolling over. It's unlikely, but you could.
True.
Okay, great, thank you. We'll be
So,
back.
so you know what you could do on that? Just really quick, I'm sorry, one more thing. What we do is, we apply, if the incumbents do not apply, we then we do an application. And say, or like we extend it a week. So we have applications, if no one applies, like two incumbents are coming, they're reseeking. If they don't, then we extend for a week. So you could do something like that.
Great, thank you.
All right,
So to get clarification, Jennifer, we need proper action here. I don't think so, but I just want to double check.
Or do we need a motion?
well, it's not time to close, yeah.
It's really,
I mean, we could take a motion to continue.
but that has been what we've kind of done in the past, is we've pulled from, I think we've filled seats that way on occasion.
I think the question on the table is, do we need a formal motion right now, or can this just be guidance?
I think when an item's listed as action, we don't have to take an action.
Yeah.
That's correct. The committee can do either an action or just have it pushed forward on the recommendation.
Great. Okay, we're good. Thank you. Any committee member reports? Okay, we're adjourned.
Okay.